I believe that Manta could very well be such a big narrative during this bull run, and hypothetically, as a result of that, reaching the price of $20, that really wouldn't surprise me whatsoever, even though that's not financial advice. But here's the thing. People oftentimes, they like AI projects, meme coins, NFT projects, gaming projects, and don't get me wrong, I love some of them too. But I think the Manta network is something that is often overlooked because I think it's very special. And keep in mind, the Manta network does have two different networks, and I think this right here is a very special project. Even though it may seem quote-unquote a little bit boring, I think the fundamentals are actually very fantastic. The first network I want to talk about is something called Manta Pacific, and this is the modular layer 2 ecosystem on Ethereum for EVM, Ethereum Virtual Machine, native ZK applications. Again, that's what EVM stands for, Ethereum Virtual Machine. But even besides that, I think there's a key takeaway here. Now, we take a look at the first key takeaway is something called zero knowledge. Now, again, why do people like zero knowledge technology? It is because usually, this allows for greater scalability and as well as enhancing privacy. So this right here, I think, is a great touch when it comes to, again, Manta Pacific. Not to mention, sometimes people like to say that, oh yeah, it's complete caca and all this type of stuff. But the second key takeaway is the fact that it is a layer 2. Now, in this case, why is a layer 2 so special? It's because if you take a look at Ethereum, it's great and all, a lot of fans, a lot of hype, ecosystem is amazing. But what is often a big complaint about Ethereum? It's the fact that the gas fees are a complete caca. Let's face it is. Also, not to mention, scalability is often a very caca problem as well. So what is a way to quite essentially combat this type of nonsense while at the same time being able to enjoy that amazing ecosystem? That's through, for instance, in my opinion, like a layer 2, because quite essentially that's what it's purpose built for, in my opinion. And again, when I take a look at Manta Pacific, I think this right here does play a very vital role. You take a look at a layer 2, you take a look at how it has the zero knowledge technology aspect to it, right? So this right here is something very special, in my opinion, often overlooked, but I think that it's actually very special indeed. Not to mention the second part, or should I say the second thing that makes up the Manta network is something called Manta Atlantic. And I think you're beginning to understand, or should I say, kind of look at Manta as this project that has names that are focused on these oceanic, I would say, or ocean themes. But yeah, besides that point, we take a look at Manta Atlantic. It, by the way, has been stated to be allegedly the fastest ZK, again, zero knowledge, layer 1 chain on Polkadot. So that's very special. If you take a look at Polkadot, it's a very amazing and popular project. I'm very bullish on Polkadot. Polkadot, it's focused on connecting blockchains together, focused on interoperability. And again, the fact that allegedly Manta Atlantic is the fastest ZK layer 1 chain on Polkadot, a project that massive with fundamentals that amazing, and this right here, I think, really means something. That's just my point of view, though. Some people think it's complete caca, but I disagree. However, not to mention, on the Manta network, there is currently a total value lock that is worth hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars. So that's very impressive, and there's even over 200 projects as well. So if you think about it, adoption, is it the best? Absolutely not. Let's be real here, right? But in my opinion, it's heading in the right direction, and I think it's very impressive considering how Manta isn't the biggest project out there. Not to mention, if you take a look at, there's also something called the Calamari network. Now, you may be thinking, okay, Calamari, Manta Atlantic, Manta Pacific, okay, this is a little bit corny. Now, am I saying that the names are the best? Who knows? I would have probably made it a little bit different. I would have probably made it, something cooler like Aquaman. I'm just joking. But yeah, I think this is pretty cool. Here's the thing. If you take a look at the Calamari network, it quite essentially is the canary network to the Manta network. Now, you may be thinking, okay, what is a canary network? Now, here's the thing. Again, you take a look at how Manta Atlantic is allegedly the fastest ZK layer 1 chain on Polkadot. Now, Polkadot also has a canary network, so I think you're beginning to understand the similarities here, right? If you take a look at what is the canary network to Polkadot, it's something called Kusama. Now, again, in this case, Manta, its canary network is called the Calamari network. Now, what is the benefit of a canary network? Let's use Polkadot and Kusama as an example because they are very popular. Now, usually, let's say a developer, they want to start building on Polkadot. Typically, they will usually start building on Kusama first as a way to test out the project under real economic conditions. And if they choose to, later on, they can move on to Polkadot. Now, you may be thinking, okay, why don't they just straight up build on Polkadot? Why even bother with Kusama? Well, the way I take a look at it is that Kusama, it's mostly like a test drive or like a free trial at a gym because, again, a project can test out its fundamentals, I would assume, using that. And not to mention, it's far easier to rent building space, or should I say far cheaper. Not to mention, it's also easier to make changes on when it comes to Kusama as opposed to Polkadot. So if you think about it, this right here is a good segue to enter the Polkadot ecosystem, I would say. Much like the Calamari network, it kind of has the same principle in a sense. And again, that is the Calamari network, which is a canary network to the Manta network. And keep in mind, right, when it comes to Manta, reaching the price of $20 doesn't seem all that insane. I get it. It is not the best upside. It's around a 22x from here, but still, even despite that, some people think it's impossible, but I disagree because reaching that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $8 billion. Now, around an $8 billion market cap is actually not too crazy. We've seen how Dogecoin reached over $80 billion in market cap. So this market cap right here isn't even 10% of Dogecoin's all-time high market cap. I mean, can you believe that? Now, as the old saying goes, though, high tide raises all ships. You take a look at how there's over 600 million crypto owners, according to Crypto.com research, as of right now. So that's more than ever before in history. Not to mention, if you take a look at Charles Hoskinson, who not only is the co-founder of Ethereum, but the founder of Cardano, according to Charles, in the next 1 to 2 years, based on a video that he was a part of on November, he said that he could very well see Bitcoin reaching either $250,000, so that's 250,000, all the way up to $500,000, aka $500,000. Could you imagine that? Let's say Bitcoin just even reaches his worst case price prediction, which is 250,000. At that point, Manta at the price of $20 may seem a little bit bearish. That's just the way to take a look at it. Now, some people may think, okay, how long? Typically, altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they've been known to peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, the last Bitcoin halving event happened back in April, so around 18 months from then would actually mean around October of 2025. Now, this is not an accurate indicator as to when altcoins are going to peak because, of course, different altcoins, they peak at different times. The market sentiment is going to be different each cycle, not to mention when you take a look at how history, it doesn't always tend to repeat itself, you know what I mean? However, it does tend to rhyme, but still, it could happen a little bit later, a little bit sooner, we just don't know. But even still, despite that, I think this, if anything, showcases how when it comes to Manta and a bunch of other altcoins as well, there's still a ways to go, you know, and also there's still a lot of time for it to prove itself. So when it comes to Manta, I get it. It's not even at the price of $5 yet, but I think $20, I don't see why not during the peak of this bull run. I think it's a very special project. I think it's very special in its own way, but I think the fundamentals are rock solid. And I think it should be one of my foundational pieces in my portfolio because, again, I think 2024 was a small taste of what's to come, but I think 2025 could hypothetically be something special. And again, $20 during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And make sure to subscribe if you gained value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's only the captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace. Bye.